Okay, good morning everybody, and thank you for kind invitation, and that I very much appreciated. And I have to disclose no conflict of interest today. In many other days I may have, but I don't know whether it would be the case. And of course I apologize with the audience because I'm really new to this kind of approach, but it's very, I found when Jorg recruited me and Fabrizio recruited me, I found it very fascinating because of my actual work. So I have no slides today. I only want to leave some reasons of thoughts for the new coming era, because in the abstract that I have sent, first of all, I agree, and I always been how to say, in line with the point that the various stakeholders, this is a very abused word, stakeholder, but I don't have any other in English, patients, pharma, regulators, and key opinion leaders should collaborate to find new methodologies today for, and this for the reason that the increasing scientific, I am a physician and pharmacologist as a background, so the increasing and compelling amount of scientific information about new aspects of rare disease, oncology, neurological disease, and whatever else we want to consider is really giving place to a lot of innovation, a lot of new innovative technology for the treatment of these diseases, which is welcome, of course. I have heard, but this is one aspect of the medal, so everybody would be very prone in terms of regulatory agencies to reimburse new treatments for disease which had no treatment options so far. This is quite the positive aspect. The other side of the coin, and I underline, I'm not calling it the negative aspect because it's not, the other side of the coin is that technology has a cost. So regulatory agencies have to find new methodologies in HTA in order to define whether these costs are justified when you consider the HTA profile which has been released by regulatory bodies, EMA, or the national agencies. And this is a strong call for harmonization of methodologies, which is not an easy task to accomplish, however, because I can think of some example in some committees in Europe, for example, where 25 countries would see favorably a drug for its efficacy and for its safety profile, while 3 countries do not. So what is the meaning of harmonization if so far we have to assist this condition? So this is important. On the other hand, there is the positive aspect of COVID, which learned and taught us how to be fast and efficient when we consider the profile of a drug. We had the need to release, and sometimes with errors and mistakes, because this is in the human nature, to approve drugs which revealed not to be then effective for COVID, but the emergential moment needed this kind of behavior. This learned as a lesson that really, as the oncologist was saying at the beginning, the early approval may be transformed in early access. But we have many examples, and if you read a couple of papers from Pasteur, who is one of the boss at the FDA, he claims that such sometimes the early approval would imply this dangling approval, which remains, however, dangling for many years. Sometimes it comes out, the dangling approval results in withdrawal of drugs from the pharmaceutical company, sometimes results in the evidence that the dose tested in the clinical trial was not an appropriate dose, but even a much lower dose of that drug would do better. So less is more is the title of the article, as I remember, which is very fascinating if you read it, and I invite you to read it for those who did not. So there are a lot of issues that must be, this is not true that we have, completely true, that we have to guarantee an early access when there is an early approval, because the early approval may hide some aspects that we cannot or we do not expect from the actual quick evaluation that has been done. And this is very important patient-wise, because as a physician, I always remember that I want to make a benefit to patients before making benefit to the general community, including all the stakeholders. So if stakeholders have to meet and find new methods for HTA evaluation, I think that the keywords will be, first of all, harmonization. We all have to agree about some determined key points, and the second one, which is even more relevant than the first one, is flexibility. We cannot expect that, I don't know, big pharma companies on a side and regulators on the other side stay rigid on their points, and they cannot move in order to guarantee the benefit to patient the first and to their pockets the second, because of course they made a lot of work and they make a lot of work, and this may be retributed, but there is a limit to this. So flexibility must be the key word for these groups if they want to work on. And I would say, I think first of all, the relevance, I attribute some relevance to the review of the consideration of endpoints and comparators in the clinical trial. This is an important point, because today I'm seeing many trials which are characterized by very surrogate endpoints. Just to go to oncology, ORR. What is ORR? I mean, there is a 100% of response today, and tomorrow I can see 90% of those patients dying. So, I mean, this is not valuable to my eyes, not alone, at least, and not as a primary endpoint. I understand that other, like OS, are not always usable because of the time, because of many aspects, but still we have to consider this, and the comparators. Many studies today, many trials today are run versus placebo. Why? When a comparator is available. Placebo is ethical only, I would like to remember, when there is no comparator available. So these are two examples on how one could open the discussion between the different stakeholders. And this for the patient's benefit and for the community, for the scientific community benefit, and for the big pharma benefit as well. So I don't see any problem in acknowledging this kind of, and so with these words I would like to thank you. I hope I was not annoying, but